Good morning, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Yes, as you look at a shot of the BTL studio, the Grasshopper's not here. Matthew is live via Skype down in Austin, Texas. Let's bring him in now. Matthew, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Mark. How's it going?
It's been a busy morning so far, and obviously checking out Bass Track to see what's taking place. Now, let me ask you this right off the top. Would this not be the most accurate that Bass Track will ever be during Bass Fest?
100%. I believe the only thing that isn't going to be 100% accurate is the weight of the big fish. I think they're going to go by, the weight that's on the scale? And I think that's what they've done in the past.
I'm not sure on that
when they weighed them in. But other than that, yeah, I mean, if you got fish under 21, or everything but your biggest, if it's over 21, is going to be 100% accurate. Obviously not official until it is verified. Basically, what they've done in the past, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it this year until I see at the weigh-in today. But you have your marshal or your I guess he's not a marshal. I guess he's like a referee or a official in the boat this week. They have the scales. All the scales are calibrated, and then they have a piece of paper. And last year at Texas Fest, it was just like kind of an 8 by 11, and you have the time they caught it and the weight of that fish, and then you take your card at the end of the day with all your keepers, and you'd stay with your official, and you would go up to the table behind stage, and then the bass officials would go through, have your 5 biggest, verify it, and then it was official. So that's kind of how they did that. But a lot of big fish getting caught early. I know it's only the first day. And folks, if you're listening on iTunes, a couple days later, talking about Toyota Texas Fest, 4-stop the Bassmaster Elite Series, Lake Travis, just outside of Austin, Texas, real deep, clear canyon lake. Surprisingly, some giant fish in this thing that guys were catching during practice, but also just tons of little fish. So suits the home field advantage and the West Coast flair. And so far in the first 3 hours of the morning on Thursday, first day of the tournament, you're seeing both of those factors come into play.
All right. Very not unusual, but a rarity in Texas where a lake does not have any grass.
Yeah, no grass in the lake. There are, this thing was like down and basically like dried up. There are like a lot of trees and bushes and stuff once you get up the river that are in the water that like grew up when it was 50 feet low. There are some fish around that. I mean, Greg Hackney was catching them early. I don't see him out with a drop shot. I could be wrong, but he's probably, there are some fish around those bushes, but also big boulders, 15-foot visibility, a lot of docks, a lot of stuff around the docks in the water as far as like cables and ladders and stuff like that, finesse tactic type stuff.
All right. Very good interviews yesterday as far as a preview. It seems everybody's going to catch them. And we've seen these events over the years where obviously the numbers are there, but that big bite, and when we say a big bite, we're talking an 8, a 9, or a 10 is really going to be the difference maker. Is that true,
yeah,
Matthew?
Totally, and there were a lot of guys who caught a lot of those, not a lot, but caught those fish every day during practice, but they weren't able to like duplicate it. Regardless of what they did, I talked to actually Josh Bertrand, who's leading this thing right now in the early morning. He's like, man, I had, one day of practice where I'd go, 10 to 13 incher, catch 20 of them, and then catch an 8-pounder and be like, ooh, I'm on it. And then I'd do that for another hour. He said I'd catch 20 more fish, never even have a keeper. So then I'd switch to something else. Bam, 7-pounder. Oh, figured it out. Then catch another 20 short fish or move. And he said at the end of the day, he had a monster bag, but he really didn't know how he put it together other than he just got those bites. There's no way that he could kind of weed out the smaller fish. And then he had some practice days where he didn't get those big bites, and he was doing the same thing he did when he did get the big bites. So like Brandon said on the little Instagram video that I put out, I said there's a fine line between 26 pounds and 6 or 7 pounds.
Yeah, how do you like that Austin traffic?
I mean, we're like kind of outside of Austin. I don't really have to mess a lot with Austin. I think it's like Georgetown is mainly it. So, I mean, I'm not going to see Austin at all.
It's not that far away, dude.
I know, but the ramp's, 20, 30 minutes from where we're staying. Cool ramp. There's like 3 ramps there. It's where the weigh-in is actually going to be held. So things are off to a good start at Bass Fest on Lake Travis, and a really cool fishery. A lot of homes on the water. Me and you were talking before we went on air, actually, last night, and I said, dude, it's like a mix, and I had anglers agree with me. It's like a mix between like Lake Amistad, as far as like the bluffs, the water clarity, the scenery, Lake of the Ozarks or Table Rock, as far as kind of the no grass, the rock. There's spotted bass. There's these Guadalupe things in here that don't get very big, and then the largemouth, and kind of like a Cumberland deal where it's like a really long kind of winding river lake. So you kind of combine all those 3 things together, and that's what Lake Travis is. And a lot of the guys are like, dude, this place is really cool.
All right, I was looking at Bass Track, and there's got to be some areas where there's no cell service for these guys to transmit their Bass Track info, because there's a lot of names out there that you would think by now would at least have one fish weighed.
Well, not necessarily true. I rode with an angler during practice, and you'll see that come out on Bass Zone next week. But and he was talking about how on these like canyon lakes and the deep clear water, a major thing, and there is a little bit of shad spawn going on, but a major thing are hard shade lines and also the deep docks. And those get better as it gets later. Obviously, you're going to have the hard shade lines as it gets later in the day. It's going to position your fish instead of kind of roam them up like they are early in the morning. And they're also going to get sucked underneath those docks for the shade. And the docks here, Mark, are interesting. A lot of really nice docks on the lake, but they utilize like all of the dock. It's not like, a row and then a boat where you can cast in between or skip it under it and stuff. It's like kind of platform docks where every inch is like used by either a boat or, somewhere where they can sunbathe or hang out on it. So there's just a lot of shade like blocks around those docks. And a lot of the marinas too. There's a lot of fish that are utilizing the marina. So that bite is something that, it's going to be like the hottest today. It's not going to be windy. It's going to be bluebird skies, like 90s, mid 90s, upper 90s. So I think that bite's going to get better later in the day. So you got guys who are banking on that or who caught their big fish doing that during practice. And, they might not get bit till 10, 11, 12 if they didn't happen upon a big fish during the shad spawn this morning.
All right, man, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but how far can you run up the river there? Do you know?
Yeah, you can go probably. I mean, the whole thing looks like a river. I mean, it's not like really wide at many points.
Yeah.
But I'd say where you feel like you're like in a river where there's like stuff on either side, probably like 5 to 10 miles.
Huh. And then you can run a little ways up that too, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of water in it.
Okay. It's just there were a couple people, Mark in Minnesota, they were wanting to know if anybody chooses to make that run. I would think, being in the Austin area, that the cell service is pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, the angler that I was with actually explored a river in the morning yesterday. From launch, it's probably like a 42, 43-minute run, and he went way up it. Yeah. And, the water gets a little more stained. I'd say 2.5, 3 foot visibility, still keeps kind of a greenish hue to it, but kind of a different world up there. I mean, not like straight. I mean, it still looks kind of deserty and stuff as far as the rock formations and shelf stuff. But
yeah. Hey, real quick, I need to take care of some housekeeping here because I see him on the instant feedback. Craig from New York, Lake Oneida, if you would do me a favor, if you could send me an email with your contact info, just send it to mark@basszone.com. I need to talk to you about some stuff in New York so that you don't even know about, Matthew. But I'm glad he's on the instant feedback because hopefully he'll send me his contact info and I could talk to him.
There you go.
Any idea about that one?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay, well, that's all right.
Or maybe not. I don't know. Also going on, I mean, obviously, is the tour event over on Kentucky Lake, and they blog fired up. Now, obviously, all this stuff is going to be obsolete once the weigh-in happens, but that's a real interesting derby they got going on over there, Mark.
That was a very difficult task to try and put together a fantasy team for that Kentucky Lake event, especially with everything's going on.
I just tried to pick all guys. Like, I was like, oh, there's 6 guys with the same first name. I'm going to go with all 6.
That's like my kid. Did I ever tell you? Now, this is stupid, and I ripped him a new one for doing this, but the school that he goes to, the Catholic high school that he goes to, they require seniors to not only take the ACT, but they have to take the SAT. And the SAT, if you're already enrolled and you've already taken the ACT and you've done real well on the ACT, in the grand scheme of things, Matthew, it really doesn't mean anything. But the school requires you to take the SAT. So you know what he did? He just selected A on every single question.
That probably wasn't the smartest thing to do.
No, and I ripped him a new one for it, and they give you 400 points. I think there's 1,600 possible. They give you 400 just for showing up. And by him putting in A in every single answer, I think he scored 820.
Then did he have to sit there, or then could he leave?
No, he left. And he wasn't the only one that did it. There were a bunch of other guys that he played football with, a couple of baseball players, a couple of basketball players, because they had already – anyway, it's a stupid thing, but you're filling out your fantasy team reminded me of that. But I ripped him a new one. That's just very irresponsible, even though it meant nothing.
Anyway, based on the preliminary reports, it looks like it's about half and half there as far as deep and shallow, so –
all right. I do see one thing that sticks out on Bass Track this morning is Cliff Pace.
Yeah, caught himself a 10-pounder.
Yeah.
That could be worth $50,000.
Is that how much it is?
Yeah.
Wow.
That could be very interesting. I mean, there's a couple guys early on, halfway through. If you look at Ray Hanselman, he's from Texas. He's the guy who won the entire series of the Everstart. He's very familiar with Amistad. This lake has a lot of elements like Amistad. He's got 3 for 16-13. Then David Walker has 3 for 12-9. Cliff Pace has 1 for 10-5, and Ayler has 3 for 10-3. There's a lot of room to move up there for those guys. I mean, every 14-incher that they catch goes on the board.
Glad to see Mr. Klun catching him this morning.
Yeah, he's in the top 20 right now, so we'll see how that shakes out.
All right. Anything else going on that you've seen since the days that you've been down there? Anything from the meeting last night? I mean, when I tried and I did not get an opportunity to break down what I want to break down, I'm going to wait till after this event. This is event number 4, and I can kind of break down who's really got to turn things around, who is by far and above having a great year through 4 events. But I would think, Matthew, these next 2 stops this week and then the Sabine River is going to be brutal. Do you agree with that?
A lot of guys. And kind of an interesting dynamic with that, too, is and now this is just from talking with guys. I haven't seen this on paper or actually talked with Tripp about this, but apparently they're opening up the Sabine River on Monday and Tuesday following Bass Fest. So this Monday and Tuesday, which is like 10, 12 days before the tournament starts. Usually it's a 29-day off-limit period. And the Elite Series guys are the Texas waters down there. They can go practice on the Sabine River on Monday and Tuesday, a week and a half before. I guess it was sent out in an email by Bass. Obviously, the Sabine River scheduled for a couple months ago was rescheduled because of the high water, dangerous conditions. They rescheduled it for June. They can only fish in Texas. Water temps are going to be in the 90s. A lot of guys are going to be packed in, but and it's the first time I can remember. I mean, you're less than 2 weeks out from the tournament, and a lot of guys aren't exactly thrilled about that, Mark, because I mean, they got schedules, they got stuff to do, they got meetings, they got family obligations, they got sponsor obligations, and really the only guys who are able to do that are the guys who didn't have anything going on. And then they can just mosey over. They're going to have a huge advantage because a lot of the other Sabine River tournaments, in fact, all of them, have been early season tournaments. And they've been able to fish Louisiana. So now you take out the Louisiana, you add it to a different time of the year, post-flood conditions. A lot of things have changed there. And there's going to be a number of guys who will have 2 additional days, 10 days before the tournament starts on the Sabine, while the majority of the guys are going to be seeing it for the first time.
Wow. That's really interesting that decision would be made to allow people. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, when these schedules come out, I know for a fact through the years, these guys basically schedule their life around that schedule.
Yeah, I was talking to one angler. He said, I'm scheduled almost a year out. I know what I'm doing almost a year out. I can't just have 2 days, especially during the meat of the season, where I can just drop it and go practice.
Yeah, that is somewhat stunning that decision was made. And I'm sure the vast majority of the field already had stuff in place. But then again, the movement of the tournament to begin with, through the rescheduling, it was an off day, obviously, with all the commitments they have from a family standpoint, from a sponsor standpoint. Yeah, that's just kind of a mushy situation, Matthew.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't really see what the benefit is there either.
Yeah. Hey, Frank in Michigan wants to know, do you think there'll be more spinning rods used or bait cast? And when you were on the water, what did you see more of?
I think it'll be 50-50. I mean, there's a video out of Bertrand catching his giant one this morning. I know he's mixing it up with both, but he was using a bait caster when he caught his 8-pounder this morning. I think it'll be about a 50-50 mix. I think you'll see guys who have both on the front deck because the lake changes a lot as the day progresses. In the morning, shad spawn, the fish are aggressive. You've got guys who are fishing out deep with bigger baits, big jigs, stuff that you're dragging around. You got guys who like the dock thing, and you can catch a big fish on either of them here. So I think it'll be a mix. I don't think one will be super predominant. I'm interested to see how the giant swim bait bite plays. I talked with the guys who do that off the record, and some of them were a little guarded. They said, there's some bites to be had on it. You're talking the 8, the 10-inch, the Huddleston, the Roman Maids, the Gang Crafts, the glide baits, all that. They said there's some bites to be had, but it's also kind of a real dangerous pattern too because it's hard to target them.
Yeah, Brian in Philadelphia wants to know, when is the 2019 Elite schedule coming out? They probably won't come out with that until October or November.
Or January.
At the earliest. We had that conversation. It's very, very unfortunate that both of the major tours are taking place during the same week. It's happening 3 times this year. And, that's a topic that we could spend 12 shows talking about. But I'm really curious to see what happens at Kentucky Lake after the Elite guys really kind of put the whole Asian carp thing at the forefront and how things played out from a catch perspective to see what the guys do this week at Kentucky Lake. The other thing is, I think from a field perspective, Matthew, there are more people, would you agree with this? There are more people in the field, more anglers in the FLW field that are more familiar with Kentucky Lake than the field for the Elite Series.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair statement. There's more TVA experts and stuff, I think, on the FLW tour, and there's more anglers. There's a couple more local guys.
Yeah. So
I would agree.
I know a number of the videos, and FLW does a great job in previewing their stuff and having the anglers talk about what's going down at Kentucky Lake, and for that matter, any event that they do. But a lot of the guys, they were brutally honest. It is not good. It is tough. It is brutal. And
I still think you'll see 80 pounds win that tournament, though.
You think 80 pounds?
Yeah, you'll still see 80 pounds win that tournament.
My weight was 78.2 in my fantasy fishing league. What's it going to take it, Travis?
I think I picked 65. So the thing that a lot of the guys talked about, and they were being dead honest, is, you have 25 one day and easily have 10 the next day. Like, consistency here as far as, I mean, you look at all the guys who have the high weights, Bertrand and Hansel, you look at, they all have giants. Without those giants, they're at that 10, 11 pound mark with everyone else.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Brian in Philadelphia wants you to check something out. He asked me this, and I forgot to tell you, just with everything going on. He had heard that they were giving away a Tundra for big bass, but he doesn't see anything on Bassmaster.com. So when you're at the weigh-in today, you might talk to Elo or somebody that you see and go, "Hey, man, is there a Tundra being given away?"
I know they used to
at
every TTBC, but then I had heard that there wasn't this year. But then I looked at the rules and payout, so I don't know. So I'll know for sure. I'll find out for sure.
Yeah, check that out for Brian, and then we'll let you know on that, Brian. Let's see here. Now I want to touch on a subject real quick, and obviously the people that have listened to this show over the years, we talk about golf, but
we're gonna talk about,
dude, I'm telling you, this is one of the craziest stories I think I've ever heard in individual sports.
I sent you that text when it came out.
Yeah, there were some crazy things that have taken place in tennis. Obviously, there's some crazy stories that have taken place in fishing, but this kind of beats them all, Matthew.
Well, yeah, I sent you the link. I said, BTL material, I'm reading the text. I go, think this happens in fishing, with like 3 question marks.
And this has been a major topic of discussion on sports talk radio across the country. It's plastered all over the web. Why don't you kind of go ahead and set it up? Do you have it right there in front of you?
I feel bad for them. Yeah, basically, they had we talked about the golf tournament that was this past week, and Lucas Glover he made the initial cut, and then he sucked on Saturday, didn't make the cut, went back. His wife started bitching him out for missing the cut, saying she was going to leave him, called him all sorts of names, saying he needed to play better, that he was an embarrassment. I guess Lucas Glover's mom, this is all just based on reading it, got involved, and she started attacking Lucas Glover's mom. The cops got called. She got arrested.
Crazy.
Then she resisted arrest, the whole 9 yards, and then she got bailed out. Then in his statements, they were like, yeah, she does this to me when I don't play good and always tries to leave me and all this stuff. I'm like, God, that does not sound pleasant.
Oh.
But I just was wondering, in your I mean, on a strictly, this has nothing to do with helping you catch fish. Although if you're the guy who's getting bitched out, you probably help you if it wasn't happening. But
it's a big part of the mental game, my friend.
Yeah, the mental game. I mean, do you think there's guys out there who come home after a 90th place finish and just bam, stiff backhand from the wife? The hell are you doing? Leaving you if you don't cash a check in the next event.
I have no idea on that one.
There's not enough pressure. They're not out there trying. I mean, it's not like Lucas Glover was like, screw it, I'm going to shoot a 78 today.
Oh, jeez. I really don't know. We know a lot of these guys. We know their wives. For the ones that I know personally, I can't see anybody doing that. But that's just crazy. And here's the other thing. In some of the post-episode reports that have been published, he's actually sticking up for her. And I guess she was dipping into the bottle a little bit. She was a little tipsy.
Yeah, and they've got kids and stuff. I mean, who knows? You don't know what the
No.
family issue is, but it sounds like it's like a pretty like a reoccurring theme as far as the non-happy wife. After
Jeff in Tennessee, and you gotta love people out there that are fans. Jeff in Tennessee said, "Dude, it's already happened. Velvic and Mary Delgado."
But I don't know if that was over him not catching fish.
Probably not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably not.
That was a while ago.
Oh.
But it did go down very similar from the police reports there.
Yeah, that's wow. That is just a crazy story. What were some of the other vibes that you got? I know, obviously, in your preview video, you got a chance to talk to VanDam. VanDam looked a little giddy.
Yeah, I was actually talking to another angler too, and VanDam was like asking him questions like, "You catching him? You on him? Blah blah blah." This other angler said that he's never heard VanDam, ask him. Usually, when VanDam shows up, he doesn't talk to him. He keeps things under the hat. He doesn't want to chat about what's going on or anything. But VanDam's been doing this a long time now.
Yeah.
And you think about it, it's not very often that he gets a chance to look at a brand new lake, especially during this time of the year. Especially it's got a lot of, huge elements, that Michigan kind of clear water stuff up there. There's a lot of stuff going on the lake now. You can catch them a million different ways. So I think he was kind of excited, but I think there's a big feeling out process for VanDam. Just like there was for everyone else, as far as has anybody figured out how to target the bigger fish in the lake, or are there just so many small ones in there, it's just kind of pot luck?
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how this thing develops over 4 days and how many of those big bites the guys get. There's no way that anybody even comes close to the 90-pound mark, or is that possible?
No, most guys are thinking, I asked Brandon and I asked Bertrand and I asked a number of these guys, when I said 20 a day to win, they kind of gave me the I hope not look, because it's not, there's gonna be 20-pound bags. There'll be mid 20-pound bags. We're already gonna see a 10-pounder weighed in, but over the course of the 4 days, I think that mid-teens mark is going to take it.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back and kind of wrap things up. If anybody on the instant feedback has any questions for Matt while he's down there in Austin, go ahead and queue him up on the instant feedback. And then I got one other thing that I want to talk about, Matthew. Anything else that you want to talk about? So let's take a break, and we will come back and see how things are going on Bass Track. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We can put an absolute smackdown on the bass in a 3-hour period.
There is going to be pressure.
Playing by their rules.
I'm fishing against Mike McClellan, who has won way more than I have.
I'm absolutely going to smoke him.
This one-on-one live on May 30th at 10 o'clock in the morning, it will all be about execution.
Yeah, you want to beat your buddy.
I just want to catch that extra 5-pounder or two so I can say I'm the one-on-one champ on May 30th.
Creed's got a lot of bad. That's just all there is to it. He's sloppy, his truck's a mess.
See, look, he's already got a call. This guy's so famous, that's somebody else calling him for an interview. Got it.
The most versatile fishing machine on Earth. Unparalleled resolution and clarity, with more agility, lightning speed, and brute strength. HDS Carbon takes rapid response performance and screen technology to an all-new level. Maximized power, maximized visibility. See Structure Scan 3D, new dual chirp sonar, new live network sonar, and more mapping options, all at the same time and faster than ever before.
Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4 strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
My rods look different because they are different. Every rod is built by the pros and for the pros. When you pick up a white Duckett fishing rod, you're getting a cutting-edge rod, one that's truly pro-driven with the actions you need for every bait category you fish. I put my name on it. It's my promise to build you a great rod you can count on.
Duckett Fishing, Micro Magic, Macro Magic, or White Ice.
Try them. They work.
When you are on the water, you need performance you can count on. Lowrance has been proving it for more than 60 years. Just ask our pros. HDS Carbon is the choice of champions. The clearest, most visible screens and killer new features like fish reveal and dynamic high visibility contrast ensure you catch more. Now is the ultimate time to get the best deal. Save up to $500 when you buy a qualifying HDS Carbon in the Ultimate Upgrade Sales event before May 31st.
Hey guys, Russ Lane, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. Man, I am so excited to be joining the AFCO Pro staff. They got some really cool, innovative products to help you have a more enjoyable, comfortable day while you're out there on the water. Really stylish, great functional clothing. You're gonna love it. The thing I'm most excited about though is AFCO has pledged to donate 10% of their total profits back to supporting the conservation of our fisheries, and I am all about supporting a company that's about supporting conservation so that we can enjoy our bass fishing for a long time. Check us out, AFCO.
Jacob Wheeler and Tommy Biffle have a lot in common.
Flat bill.
The perfect shape.
You gotta love some light tackle.
I know I have a spinning rod.
I love my hammer crawl.
Biffle bug.
Rigged
on a hardhead.
Well, they could be twins. Bifflebug, hammer crawl, hardhead, from Gene LaRue.
Let me help you, man.
Let me help that hat.
Whoa, whoa.
There you go. I already looked better.
When I talk about Sunline, I think of one word, confidence.
Sunline FX2 is what I use for all of my frogging and flipping.
S61 braid, which braid plays a big part in fishing line.
Shooter, I'm going to use in those close quarter deals like flipping and pitching.
One of my favorite techniques in fishing the tournament trail is to fish offshore ledges.
We have taken the questions out of the equation.
Take my word for it. It works. It works, dude.
All right, we are back on a Thursday, kicking things off. Boat tours, FLW Kentucky Lake, and Matthew is live down in Austin, Texas. We're elite stop number 4. Dude, it's almost June and we're only 4 events into it.
Yeah, by the end of June, we'll be 6 or 7 into it.
Yeah, it's pretty jam-packed. A critical time during the schedule for a number of guys. And
just a number of them, not critical for the rest of them.
Well, if this is what you want to do for a living, there is quite a number of these guys that have not really seen a whole lot of success during the first 3. You pop a good event this week, somehow, some way you manage to grind out a good finish at the Sabine, suddenly your season has totally turned around.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Makes sense.
Especially because you make the Classic if you win this one. So whatever you win, add the Classic and 10 grand on top of that and the pressure off. So
yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to talk to Mike Iaconelli. He's been so busy. I have talked to Becky about some other things, but I still have no idea whether or not he was able to make arrangements to fish the Sabine stuff. As I've heard right now, I don't know if there's been any social media posts or anything like that, but the way it looks right now is he's not going to be at the Sabine River.
He's got to win this.
He's going to win this?
He's got to. I mean, that's just if he wants to make the Classic.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, remember when he didn't think he made the Classic last year, too? It's not the end of the world for him. We ran some stuff on that. He said, hey, family man, career-wise, there's a lot more things that define me than my Bassmaster Classic streak. It's going to end sometime. Screw it. Why not now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like he's going to lose sleep. I really don't think he's going to lose any sleep over it. I mean, he's won it.
Dude, I'm with you. I agree completely. All right, man. Any other thoughts on what might go down this week in Austin?
No, it's going to come down to a guy who gets big bites 4 days in a row.
All right, I need you to keep talking real quick because I need to send Brian a message.
You can't do it after the show?
No, it needs to be.
Just have him email me.
No. It needs to be right now. I have my reasons. I thought you might go into a thesis there about whatever. Just give me like,
dude,
60 seconds.
Thesis. Why can't you just say, hey, send me an email at Mark at Bass Zone, and then as soon as he sends you an email, then you have his email. What is so pressing right now?
It is because something needs to take place while we are doing this live show. And I want Brian to help me out on this. Brian's very supportive, and I think that he would be willing to.
I see what you're doing. So you need to stall for 60 seconds to see if this quote-unquote technology is working.
That I've been working on. All right? So you have
You can't look over at the 13th computer that you've got set up in the studio and see if it's working on that?
You have no thesis, do you?
I really don't. We had a 3-minute break, Mark, and you could have been like, hey, when we come back, I need you to have something poignant for about a minute and a half.
Yeah, Brian did make a good point back to the Iaconelli stuff. He said it was never brought up on Ike Live on Friday when they did Ike Live on Friday. So, So keep talking about something. Ask me something. I'll answer until I can get this private message.
The other thing that I did want to bring up, obviously, and we talked a little bit about it on the show, but not really. As much as I think it should, was the Wesley Strader, who went back-to-back, coming to this tournament, the kind of headquarters for his title sponsor, looking to go 3 in a row, has had success on this lake. Last February, had a top 50 here when the FLW Tour came. Completely, I guess, different type of fishery than what he won his last Elite Series on Kentucky Lake. But then going to Lake Norman, kind of clear water, the spotted bass thing, maybe some similarities, although you can't run below the tail race here and throw a bango blade.
Yeah.
But if he could somehow be in the mix on this thing going into the final day in his first year on the Bassmaster Elite Series, that would be a major storyline.
Would be, without a doubt. I do want to mention, in case you did listen to the last show that we did, it was a very interesting show, a hot topic right now, obviously the legalization of sports betting across the country. Matthew, I still have not received a response back from Bass. Not that I ever will, but I would be very curious as to what their opinion or what their status is on their feelings about gambling and bass fishing. So hopefully soon I will get a response from them, and we know what FLW's is. At least we know what Joe's is.
Yeah, that was more Joe's personal opinion, I think, than FLW's official stance. I believe he qualified that statement with what he enjoys, not what the official statement.
Yeah, maybe we can get or try to get an official statement from FLW. I know I've somewhat positioned that with FLW too, but there have been just an enormous amount of shows that have been dedicated, not only online, I know Outside the Lines on ESPN did an entire, basically the whole show on this topic. So it's going to be interesting. And most of the stuff that I've seen, Matthew, and I want to mention this because I think it's very important from a bass fishing standpoint, is I would say 95% of the people that talk about this subject, they all either discuss or mention how much more exposure it is going to give all of the other different leagues. In fact, the owner of the Houston Rockets actually was very vocal on how, and why he said this, I don't know, about how it was going to revive a lot of sports that have really been suffering here lately. Mark Cuban, who I immensely admire from a business perspective, maybe not from a basketball management perspective, but from a business perspective, he said that this is going to have a billion-dollar impact, multi-billion-dollar impact on the NBA.
Wow.
And it's one of those things that this outside of the confined area that bass fishing is involved with, this may be that door to open up to finally position this event, these games, these tournaments, the profession to non-industry fans, and maybe the validity of what the vast majority of what people are saying from an exposure standpoint, that this could potentially be a good thing for bass fishing. I don't know.
I could see it, and we're talking bass and FLW, but you can make long-term bets, but one of the things about the gambling, I think, that draws people is they can place a bet down, they can watch a game, they can have the rooting interest in it, and then they can make money at the end of the 3 hours. And the one league that is in position to do that, where you're not dealing with 108 anglers, you're not dealing with all that, is Major League Fishing, where you can go in, you can have your profiles. Each angler is like a horse, or each angler is like a sports team, and you can have everything there for a 3-hour live, and who's your money on that?
Yeah, obviously they would have to, not their tournament format, but they would have to change or do additional events that would be live, because obviously you couldn't have any kind of wagering with everybody knowing the outcome.
You get you get 24 guys who are out there. You can do it like a number of different ways. I mean, you've got the winning weight, the over under. You could do like the horse racing, first, second, third place if you get it in order.
Yeah.
Like the trifecta. You could have the winner. You have the odds on each guy for it. So there's so many different ways you could do it, and then it would be engaging. And then imagine how invested you would be, when Kevin hooks an 8-pounder by one hook.
Yeah.
And is trying to get it in the boat. You're watching it live, and you got $1,000 riding on it.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts are just blowing through my mind right here on how cool some of this stuff could be. Especially, how cool would it be if you have some of these smaller casinos, of which I think these are really going to be the ones that jump on it, and you have, for lack of a better term, a watch party. After you have a venue to where you can actually watch what's taking place live, and the wagering window is open. I think that's a great point. I've had the opportunity to be in Vegas when the Final Four, or not the Final Four, but when the NCAA tournament was taking place, and that was insane. It was definitely a bucket list thing for me, but the amount of non-fan, think about the entire brackets that get filled out and the additional gambling or wagering that's taking place, even by people that may not really be familiar with NCAA basketball, but everybody becomes an NCAA basketball fan when the tournament starts.
I agree. I mean, the only time I follow it is when I'm beating you in the bracket, which is annually.
Good point. So maybe someday, with this ruling that has come down from the Supreme Court, maybe someday we truly will get a statement from both organizations that says, hey, we either support this, hey, we want nothing to do with it. I just think is the two leaders in what is taking place, I think something needs to be said, because there's way too much discussion and way too much money to be made, all right, according to the other organizations and according to the other leagues. And I know, believe me, I know this game is a dot in the grand scheme of things when it comes to professional sports. But it is a very marketable entity of which the millions, well, maybe at least 1 million people that follow this game, that is an enormous opportunity to spread what this game is all about to people that may not be familiar with it. It's a great opportunity to grow.
There you go.
I could be wrong, but...
Did you get your stuff tested, Mark?
I did, and it worked, man. I'm fired up.
All right, because I'm out of stuff to talk about.
All right. Final thoughts, then. Give me your final thoughts, man. Big bite, that's going to be the difference, and should be a fun 3 days. Next 3 days.
It looks like Cliff Pace added his second one. It was a 4-4, so he's up to 2 for 15 pounds. And if you're gonna watch one Bassmaster live, here's my final thought. Yeah, anglers are gonna bitch about going to Lake Austin in the middle of May, or not Lake Austin, Lake Travis in the middle of the May, that's close to Austin with so much recreational traffic and as hot as it is. They're complaining about ending up having to go to Sabine in June. Kentucky Lake was not that great. But if you look at the schedule this year, the lakes that they're going to, the new fisheries on it, the diversity of how the tournaments have been fished and won and checks cashed through the first quarter and third of the season, it's been a home run schedule. Mark, you forget we've had years in the past where 5 tournaments in a row guys have been looking at.
No, you're good. You're right.
And you've got a bunch of different stuff going on new fisheries with big fish and a lot of unknowns, and it's fun to watch.
Absolutely.
So kudos to Bass for doing that.
I agree with you 100%, man. So critical time right now for a number of guys. So going to be interesting to see what happens, especially going into Saturday. And you make a great point about how this lake is primarily a recreational lake. So we'll see how that factors in. All right, Matthew, great job on the preview. Good job today. And we will look forward to Tuesday. We'll be back on Tuesday, correct?
Yeah, I should be back. Yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Tuesday, we'll be back.
In studio, 9 a.m.
We'll be back 9 o'clock and kind of review what went down in Austin, Texas. So everybody be safe. Enjoy the coverage over on FLW Live for Kentucky Lake and on Bassmaster.com for the Lake Travis event. Everybody be safe. Try to catch some fish. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.